I don't know if I actually asked you this the other day, but what would you identify as your biggest priority as you kind of start practice here?
I think the biggest priority is making sure the guys understand we can be successful and that we have some talented players on the floor. I mean, we lost a lot of good players from last year, kids that played a number of minutes, Marcus Capers, Faisal Aiden, Abe Lodwick, Charlie Enquist, Patrick Simon, Reggie Moore. But we still have a first-team All-League guy, leading scorer in the league, coming back. Devontae Lacey, Mike Ladd. There's a number of guys in our program that if we play together as a group, we can be good. And I'm excited about those possibilities. Fortunately for me, I've been in this situation before over the years where you're kind of looked at as an underdog and you don't have this and you don't have that. But a lot of times those are the teams that pull together as a team and maximize their talent.
Is the dynamic of this team different? I mean, maybe not even athletically or from a basketball standpoint, but just from the group you have from last year with so much turnover and new guys and all that.
Yes, it is different this year than last year, but it's different every year. You know, you take even one or two guys out of the picture and add two or three other kids, and every year it's just a different dynamic for the team.
Imagine you were disappointed to see Pat Simon go.
I was, but really I mean, when he asked about, hey, next year, where am I going to fit in and what's it look like for playing time, I couldn't look him in the eye and say, hey, you're going to play a lot or you're going to start. So he's found a situation that's better fit for him. He's a great kid. He was no maintenance whatsoever here, did everything he was asked. And so I'm happy for him that he's going to get an opportunity to excel, hopefully at Seattle Pacific.
Did you kind of help him out with that, or?
I didn't. You know, I asked him if he wanted help. We talked about it, but it wasn't like Coach Hironaka or myself used to be at SPU, so we kind of funneled him there. We did help out Mike Artoon and Andre Winston to Portland State, but in Patrick's situation, right away he talked about Eastern Washington University and Central Washington, just because of the locality. I think even University of Idaho. But when SPU was brought up, he brought it up to me after a week or so, and I said, hey, what's going on? How are things looking? And he said, I'm actually on a visit at Seattle Pacific. And it surprised me, but I think he made a great choice.
What do you need out of Brock this year more? I mean, obviously he's your primary scorer and all that, but I guess how does he take the next step? What can he add to his game?
What he can do to really help us out is give us an element of leadership. He's not really your rah-rah guy, but he's a senior. He's a very good player. He's well respected by his peers, his teammates, and I think he could provide some really good leadership for us. And then I think he's going to have to take another step on the defensive end and with his rebounding to help us out. He will score points, but if he could give us a little more lift on the defensive end and with some rebounding, that'd be beneficial.
Are you going to have everybody ready to go health-wise for the start of practice?
Everybody's ready as of an hour ago. The last conversation I had with our trainer, everybody's good to go, but that stuff changes quickly sometimes, so hopefully everybody will be there Friday and ready to go, but right now everything's good.
So Mike Ladd kind of expected to be a little bit of a different player this year now that he doesn't have the thumb problem and with him being 100%.
Yeah, I think he will be. I think he'll be able to, again, going back to being a senior and being a leader, it's his second year of being a team captain. But sometimes it's hard to be a captain when you're injured and not really playing, and then telling other guys to work harder or do this or that. So I think he'll be more productive this year than last year on and off the court. Last year, he was even when he played, he was not at 100%. You know, he hurt that thumb, And I think totally missed 10 or 11 games, not just because of the thumb, but I want to say earlier on he had a concussion. And so even when he did come back after the thumb injury late in the year, it was still taped up quite a bit and bothering him, so hopefully he won't have any of those issues this season.
Who are your other captains?
Devontae Lacey. He's the third captain. Brock, Mike, and Devontae.
Those voted on by players or did coaches decide?
Two of them were appointed by the coaches, Brock Modem and Mike Ladd, being seniors and I think just what they represent. And then I asked the players to vote for a third, and Devontae won that.
Okay. All right, any questions on the phone?
Ken, can you tell us how much progression DJ Shelton made in the offseason?
Well, it's been hard to tell so far, but he's definitely gotten bigger and stronger, and I think that will equate into playing more physical basketball, which we need, especially within 10, 12 feet of the basket. I also think he's continuing to get better as a passer. He gets the ball at the high post, he sees things that other guys don't see, and he makes good passes. So we're hoping DJ has a nice season, and I think he's ready to go.
Hey, Ken, in the spring you talked about Royce Woolridge backing up Reggie Moore. I guess with Reggie out of the picture, what's sort of the plan for Royce moving forward?
Well, if we had a game tonight, Royce would be starting at one of the guard spots. So it's provided an opportunity for him to step into a role where he's definitely going to be on the floor. And I'm just glad he was here last season during that redshirt season to gain some experience within our program. He's quick, he can really guard, and I think that'll probably be the biggest difference on a positive side for him, that he's a very aggressive defender and has great quickness.
And from what it seemed like at least when you guys went to Australia, that Dexter was getting a lot more time. Do you expect him to see a lot more of the floor this year?
I expect him to see more of the floor than last year. Part of that had to do with the fact that we were in Australia, and I just wanted to play him a little bit more. And then also, he just needs minutes. You know, what usually comes along with getting minutes in a game is confidence, and we're hoping that Dexter has confidence going into this season because we need him to play more minutes than last year.
And do you see him as one of your primary three-point threats?
I do. He's one of our better shooters, so therefore we will try to get him shots beyond that arc.
And last question regarding Devontae. Has he, one thing we talked about in the spring was has he improved the ball handling? That was something that it seemed like he struggled a little bit with last year.
Well, I think he's improved. He had a chance to go with an Athletes in Action group to China early in the summer, and then obviously went with our team to Australia. And so he's played in some good competitive situations this summer where he's in a position to handle the ball. And again, I think that's where you get better. Just like I was commenting on Dexter, the way to get better is actually getting game time and playing a role that you're going to play during the season. So I'm sure he'll be better than he was last year.
And how do you think the Australia trip really benefited you guys?
I think more than anything else, giving guys a chance to get back out there, play healthy, and play together. Again, I'll go back to just the last couple of guys we talked about. Mike Ladd, who was banged up a lot last season. Royce Woolridge, who had never put on a uniform here at Washington State. Dexter getting a lot of playing time. So there's a number of kids that just receive more experience, and we're hoping that carries over.
Thanks, Ken.
You're welcome.
And Devontae, he had a banged up hand obviously down the stretch last year too. Is that no problem at all now with that?
No, there's been no problem with that. He's 100% healthy and playing good basketball.
How do you think that hand affect, you know, he's not the type of kid to gripe. Do you think that hand affected his three-point shooting at all last year?
You know, it could have. It could have affected it. It's hard to gauge that. His percentage, I don't think, dropped drastically, but the reason it's hard to gauge it because late in the season, a lot of these kids lose their legs. And there was a time during the year where I thought Devontae was pretty fatigued, and sometimes that has more to do with it than an injury, just, you know, not getting the lift. You know,
Yeah.
shooting is a habit, and if you're not jumping the same every time, it changes your shot.
I know you're talking about a little bit of a two-guard look. Is Royce the closest thing you have to a true point guard, or does even he qualify for that?
Yeah, I think he qualifies for that. I think when most people think of the point guard, they instantly think about offense, and yet there's two ends of the court. So defensively, he's going to give us a lift at the point position. He will be a very good defender on the other team's point guard this year. The other guy is Dominic Ballard, who was a walk-on. He was here last season, did not play, but he's a big, strong kid. He's not really a true point guard, but we're going to try to get away without any true point guards, like a number of other teams do. So there's, again, there's two ends of the court, and I think both those guys will provide great defense and solid offense.
Are there any more questions from the phone?
Ken, offensively, Royce, is he more of a slasher than a pure shooter? What's he like offensively?
He's probably more of a shooter. You know, Reggie, comparing him and Reggie did a really good job of breaking down the defense, especially late last season, and also getting to the rim. Royce is capable of doing that, but he's been a little bit more of a spot-up shooter over the years. Yet he is capable of attacking the rim and finishing. So he's been working on that quite a bit this summer.